Well, first of all, congratulations on what's been a great season for the club. And I know you're very busy with the preparations for the final. I guess my first question is, how are Dortmund dealing with being the underdogs against Real Madrid? Because Real are clearly the favourites.
Well, it's always the best situation if you are the underdog, maybe combined with the hope that many people are underestimating you. We are convinced about our abilities and our qualities. We know our strengths, but as a club DNA, it is part of our club that we are more or less a challenger. And of course, Real Madrid is the biggest European football club. So it's a logical consequence that in the perception of the people, Dortmund is more or less the underdog. And to be honest, we don't complain as long as we won't be the underdog on the pitch.
What's the general feeling like in Germany right now? Because obviously in a few weeks' time, the country is hosting the European Championship. So I imagine there's quite a big buzz in terms of football around the place. Do you think a lot of Germany is getting behind Dortmund for this Champions League final to give the country that feel-good factor ahead of the Euros?
Yeah, it looks like the whole country is black and yellow. Everyone is really supporting Dortmund. It's a great honor for German football to be part of the biggest club competition final in the world. And I'm very sure that similar to us, when Leverkusen played the Europa League final against Bergamo, all the German football supporters are keeping their fingers crossed for Dortmund. And yes, you described it well. The country is in a good football mood. A new national champion with Bayer Leverkusen, two German clubs in the European club finals, and then the Euro in Germany in the next 2 weeks. Germany was and is a big football country right now.
I think it's fair to say German football has a particular lens on it that's different to the rest of the so-called Big Five leagues across Europe. I just want to get into that. First of all, as I'm sure you're probably aware, Dortmund do have a very big following within China, a huge fan base all over the country, but it's not the same kind of passion that is seen for Manchester United, Liverpool, and clubs like that. What I'm trying to say is it's seen as a more alternative side, a bit of a rock and roll team, if you like, because of the club's culture, if you get my meaning. Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many teams and so many fans are drawn to Dortmund in this way?
Well, I'm very grateful that a guy like you coming from the UK is describing Dortmund like this. And I'm fully convinced that everyone who's with us knows that we treat our people as fans and supporters and not as clients. So everyone who's connecting with the club is spending his heart and the emotion, the intense football experience we present to the people in our stadium, which is always sold out. And though the demand is so high, the ticketing prices are very low. So we make football accessible. And when we come to China, we don't avoid to meet people. We want to be in contact with the people. And therefore, I would say it is also no coincidence that we will host more than 15 watch parties in China. We know that the Chinese people are interested in us. We want to make the club touchable, accessible. I think the relationship between the club and the people, this is something which makes Dortmund special and different.
I think focusing first on the fans is something right at the heart of German football. I think most fans know that, but it has been an extremely entertaining season domestically for multiple reasons. Of course, 5 teams in the Champions League next season, hosting the Euros, a German team making the final of both the Europa League and the Champions League. The future's looking pretty bright, isn't it?
If you say so, I wouldn't complain and wouldn't disagree. I'm very positive as well. I'm very thankful that we will host the Euro. German football was always successful hosting big tournaments or winning big tournaments. Remember 2006 when the World Cup took place in Germany. Remember the Wembley final in 2013 and the World Cup in 2014. When Germany was coming back as the trophy owner from Brazil. That was one of the best periods of German football. So we all are very hopeful that this might come back to German football again. And therefore, yes, we are positive and we are fully convinced that the German way, that the Dortmund way is for sure the right one.
Just moving on to the last couple of questions, I can't have a chat with you and not mention what an historic season it was in the Bundesliga for Bayer Leverkusen. A tremendous achievement. I know you probably don't want to focus on other clubs, but when you do something like that, you can't ignore it. What's been the reaction from the club to something like that?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. Amazing season by Bayer Leverkusen. All the people have done a great job, especially Xabi Alonso. This is amazing to win the national championship in such a matter. Unbelievable. To be honest, as well, a bit sad that we didn't make it last season, because we were quite close, the first ones who could beat Bayern Munich. But we have to accept that we failed. Now we have a chance maybe to repair the loss or the failure from last season. But coming back to Bayer Leverkusen, amazing job, very, very positive for Bundesliga. And as you mentioned, it was not only Leverkusen, it was a very competitive situation on the top of the league with Bayern and Bayer. Then 3 clubs are fighting for Champions League, Stuttgart, Leipzig and us. So Bundesliga is much more competitive than the reputation is offering to the people.
And speaking of history, I think the first ever European Cup final, Champions League final I watched was the 1997 final when Dortmund won. I think a colleague of yours, Lars Ricken, was on the score sheet that day. Is the memory of that final lingering around the club? What is the knowledge of the history of that famous day? And is it playing into Saturday's final?
Of course, it shows that Dortmund is able to win trophies, and to have Lars back on board, he's now one of our 4 managing directors, is something which might have some positive influence as well. If you watch him, if you talk to him, he's able to tell you the way how you can win a trophy like the Champions League. And he also can influence the players, and he's responsible for one of the biggest successes of our club history. So I'm very sure that his presence in Wembley, his presence around the team might give some additional impact to the team to become as successful as possible.
Well, I don't often wish Germans the best of luck when they play at Wembley, but all the best of luck for Saturday, and congratulations again on what's been a very good season.
Thank you very much for your time. Keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully we will present the trophy to you later during the current summer.